Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
Welcome back to Projections, where we're recapping some of the stuff we saw at the recent Augmented World Expo. A lot of hardware, a lot of cool demos, and one of the products that was announced there comes from this company, Nreal.
Right, a new augmented reality glasses solution. And their innovation isn't necessarily in new technology that's applied, but in how they're applying existing technology. It's extremely small, what they've managed to do. Usually when we see augmented reality glasses that use a combiner like this does, is you have a lot of equipment up top that gets shot down, the imagery gets projected downwards and then reflected into your eyes using a 45-degree angled mirror. Well, they've done this in a way where all of that equipment is almost invisible.
And it's lightweight, under 100 grams. In fact, the product they announced there is called the Nreal Light, which will have two versions, one which just is the glasses for $500, and one that's including the computer, the pocket computer, compute unit, that will be $1,200. And we both got to use it, and I actually got to chat with one of their managers about the product, so let's hear that. Hey everybody, Norm here, and I'm at Augmented World Expo. This is Andrew with Nreal. Great to meet you, Andrew.
Good to meet you.
Now, it's our first time using your new product, the Nreal Light, which you guys have coming out later this year.
Sure.
Very exciting. Tell me about this headset.
Certainly. So this is Nreal Light. That's the glasses that we have announced earlier today. So it's going to be available in early 2020 as a consumer kit. But other than that, all the three pieces together are also going to be available as a dev kit in September this year. So anybody who's interested in developing on our platform should be able to apply through our website. To tell you a little bit more about our product, so it's called Nreal Light, and it actually has double meanings. One is being very lightweight, because we want people to wear it very comfortably for an extended period of time. And second is also about lighting things up, right? Because we have a signature optical system where we can we have 52 degrees field of view, 1080p high resolution. The image quality of this device is really awesome.
You're talking about 1080p per eye.
Per eye, exactly.
Per eye. The form factor is really interesting because it reads, as one of the first headsets we've seen that reads like a pair of regular glasses.
Exactly.
All the optic systems, I imagine, are in here.
Yes.
Right. So it's doing a combiner, and I can tell from the profile.
Sure.
There's a little bit of an angle here, and so it's all compact.
All compact.
In this area.
Exactly. So just for information, the glasses itself only weighs 88 grams, so that's actually just a little bit more than a normal pair of glasses. So that's how we keep it very lightweight, very compact, and the design is very sleek so that everybody can actually wear it. Because our mission, just to be very frank, is to make mixed reality very accessible to everyone. So yeah.
Now you said it's a 52-degree field of view.
Yes.
That's the horizontal
That's
field
a
of view?
diagonal
field of
FOV,
view.
yeah.
Got it. You've also mentioned three components. Of course, there's the headset here, which will be available to consumers next year.
Sure.
The other two components, when you think of it as the compute unit and the controller?
Right. So we do have two different bundles. One is this the glasses itself, because it actually can be tethered to a commercial phone.
Just over USB-C.
USB Type-C, plug into the commercial phone, use the phone as a computing unit as well as a controller. That's one bundle. That's more for the consumer kit. And for the developer kit, however, we do have our own little pack that runs on Snapdragon 845. And also we have a 3-DOF controller which can be attached magnetically on top of the dev kit.
Is a Snapdragon 845, is that going to be a min spec for the phone version, or will it also run on?
For the phone, we are currently compatible with 845 and 855. This phone I'm holding particularly is LG V50, which runs on 855. So there's a USB-C port right here, which when you plug the devices into, you will be able to run demos on top.
And that data running through here, or is it a video signal that's running through?
Well, so on the glass itself, it doesn't really have any power. So most of the rendering images and the power come through the cable directly up to the glasses, and the glasses are sending the sensor data down to the phone for rendering.
So it's two-way connection. You are getting data onto here, and it's sending the video and processing onto there. And then the phone will act as the controller then?
Yes. So when you plug it in, you're going to see a interface. Just give me 1 second. It's going to
loads up and
it's going to load up. So right now this is just a simple interface. So when you move around, you'll be able to use the phone as a controller. And this area is also a touchpad area. So you'll basically use the phone functionally. When you can click just to select and double click and swipe. All those gestures will be supported.
What type of mapping are you using? Because I do see some lenses here looking out into the world. The demos we've seen, you can track some some mats.
Exactly.
Are those tracking marker based, or is there some type of slam?
Right, so as you can see, there are dual monochrome cameras on board. So those cameras are for tracking purposes. We do develop a system for SLAM system, so simultaneous localization and mapping.
Yeah.
We also leverage, so when you plug the device into a phone, for example, we also leverage Qualcomm's lower level API just to highly optimize the entire system. It's not marker based, even though you may have seen some of the markers in the demo area. We do have plane detection that completely based on SLAM and future point extraction, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a very powerful system to recognizing or to understand the environment.
Is the idea that this is meant for single room use, putting objects in your room on walls, or is the idea that you will go out into the world and use GPS as well to map a bigger environment?
It can be both. I don't see the reason why it has to be, restricted to a single room. Actually, we do have a couple visor on the outside, and those visors can be actually, replaced with more like a sunglasses type, so that when you go outside, you will be, have enough brightness to have.
That's replacing the external pass-through.
Exactly.
And on the inside, then I also saw that you have inserts.
Exactly.
Will that be included as well?
Exactly. So the inserts will also be included. We want once again, we want the mixed reality experience to be accessible to everybody. So the way we do, we take care of, corrective lenses is we magnetically attach them inside the glasses, so that you don't have to wear, dual glasses outside. So, and also we do have different shapes of nose pads, because we do realize the ergonomics of people's face differ quite a lot, especially by race. So, we do offer different shapes of nose pads, which can be also replaced right here. It's just simple as that.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you for the demo as well. It's a pleasure to meet you.
All right, nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the glasses themselves, when we put this on, as we talked about in the interview, the field of view, I thought, was, compared to some of the other combiner AR glasses, it was good, it was generous.
The field of view still leaves something to be desired. I mean, you still see the edges of the projection, which is inherent to all augmented reality that we've seen that isn't sort of a VR combination.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's fine, but you do move your head around and you see these cutoffs, which is, it takes you a little bit out of the presence that you might develop.
And something interesting that works to how they made this headset so small is, if you look at the front of the lenses, it's not the full lens that is the optics that you look through. The top half of the lens is is actually blacked out, because that's where the displays are.
Right.
And so your vertical field of view is actually much lower than I think it could be.
I thought that their way that they squeezed so much into so little space was like the real innovation here. And plus the fact that these are actually the first AR glasses that look like glasses. I mean, this is what we're shooting for. Maybe not the technology yet, but the form factor. Like, they've made them red. They're supposed to look like actual style choices.
The opaqueness I thought was decent, as you would get with a combiner. You're finding that, striking that balance between the opaqueness of the imagery and how dark the real world looks like. And obviously in a conventional environment, it's not your standard outdoor environment. In fact, a lot of their walls were very dark walls, so that when they had these images projected on them, they would look more opaque.
I think it's a fair use case. I don't think a lot of people are using AR glasses outside yet. I mean, obviously that's where we want to get, but no time in the near future. I was most impressed by the vividness of the colors. That's an OLED projector, I assume. It's some type
of display.
It really is vibrant. I mean, those colors pop out of that display. I mean, in a way that I haven't seen before in a flat screen monitor. It's really, really beautiful and pretty high res.
Yes, and 1080p for each eye. Now, the demos they had were very standard across your AR demos. They had surfaces that were tracked, that had objects kind of in front of them, again, designed so as you would look through them, they would fit in the field of view. We got to go use a demo where we got to put basically a video player up on a wall. And so you're sitting on a couch and you're looking through and you see what looks like a 70-inch TV on this black wall. And video playback, I thought, while the alignment wasn't perfect, the video playback was clear. I could see myself watching YouTube videos on this.
The wall's probably, would you say, like 9 feet away?
Yeah, 10 feet away, exactly.
I disagree. I probably would not use this for that, just because the screen itself was almost the exact dimensions of the viewport. So if you were to look around, it gets cut off.
Right.
But it's certainly compelling. I mean, it's neat. It does plane detection, so it can tell where surfaces are. I think the SLAM, the simultaneous location and mapping that they do, is not as advanced as like a Leap Motion.
Yeah.
But it definitely can sense some aspects of your environment, which lends itself more to like, placing things into your space, which is really, for me, the more compelling part of VR.
The other part of the design, and this is something that we expect to see with a lot more AR glasses in the future, is how the compute works. Now, this is off the glasses compute, right? You have one tethered cable that's plugged into USB-C, essentially to either their computer, which runs on a Qualcomm 855 with a little puck that is like a 3DOF controller, or if you buy the $500 unit, it will be plugged into an Android phone. Something that they have a partnership with Qualcomm, they say would work with either an 855 or an 845, and a selection of phones that would work with that. The input was a little funky for me because it was just 3DOF.
I thought the input was super compelling because it's not a dedicated device. It's a standard LG phone that you're pointing in 3DOF, and the laser was not lagging. Like, that was actually really quite well done. I thought that they had incorporated like some special tech into the phone, but it works perfectly.
Yeah, and then you get it makes sense, that's why it's 3DOF, because they're not tracking the phone from the glass necessarily.
Right.
It just is the orientation. It limits the type of experience you can have, and again, it goes back to this is the type of device that I think makes a lot more sense, kind of indoors living room environment than walking around in the real world. But it is, it looks like a fully manufactured product, doesn't look like a prototype. And
it's $500 just for the goggles. Now, do you think that is getting to a point where like consumers might be interested in this? And if so, what for?
Yeah, I think media consumption. Like, if it's going to be putting a video in your real world, and mapped to your wall, while you can still have conversations with people, I still think this is a developer device. I don't know if they have development partners that are going to make games and board games and other type of games that will be suitable for this, but it does need to hit that kind of consumer-friendly price point for this to be mass market. And this definitely hits a lot of those checkpoints. From Augmented World Expo, we also want to go to VR, and you had a chance recently to play a Oculus Studios game that is expansive in its ambition.
Oh my gosh. So Asgard's Wrath.
Yeah.
This was announced back at GDC, I want to say, where Jason Rubin told us that this was the biggest game that had ever been developed in VR. And I didn't know what he meant by that. Did he mean the scope of the game, how long it takes you to play through? Did he mean the budget that they've committed to the game? And for all that I can tell, after playing the game for about 2 hours last week, it's both. Like, this game is freaking massive. RPG players have not had a whole lot to appreciate in VR yet, because most experiences are maybe 10 hours at the longest.
And you have ports of things like Skyrim, but that's not optimized for VR controls.
And that is definitely, I don't even know if that's a real contender, because the VR controls they're just not great. The menus aren't great.
They're not designed with VR first.
Even the scale of the game had to be tweaked a lot in order to make it work in VR. Same with Fallout. This is a ground-up AAA VR RPG game, and it does a lot right. And I think that the combat, while really compelling, that got a lot of attention at GDC. But it's all of the other RPG elements, like the leveling up, the crafting, the collecting, going to the merchant and buying and selling, and all of the stuff that creates this world and makes your character feel like something that evolves. That is going to be what takes this game to the next level, and really is going to be the first time that that's been done in VR.
Now, what you played, it sounds like it's not fully open world. Like, there are instances that you can go into. You're on either Earth or Asgard, and there are these chapters, and you can kind of then do a whole mission, and the mission will have enemies, combat puzzles?
They call them sagas. And so each saga that you go on, you possess, in a sense, a character. And the saga that I went on, I possessed a woman who was going to avenge her brother. And she speaks to you at first, and she realizes that she's being possessed, and there's an awareness of that. But as a god, I can then do other things that she wouldn't be able to do. I can take animals. In the case of my playthrough, I was able to take a shark, and I converted it into a humanoid shark creature.
An NPC?
Yeah.
Like a psychic?
Who then becomes your your companion. And so he goes along with you, and you can control him by aiming at the floor. And you're almost like a hunter in that sense, in like the World of Warcraft sense, where you're controlling what that character does. And they become somebody who can help you get through battles or can help you solve puzzles. So you can aim at the bad guys and have your character go attack, or you can, in the case of a shark, you can aim at like a cadaver that's up in a cage on the ceiling, and he'll jump up there and like eat at it
Trigger
and
a
pull it
chain
down,
and
and that solves a puzzle. I was also able to capture a turtle character. Turtle becomes, not a Ninja Turtle, but close enough, and he becomes walking through the space, and he can then block things for me because he's got a shell. So he goes over there, and he blocks the fire, and then I have to play the timing game where I walk through the fire when it's behind him.
Do you get a sense that they have like a discrete number of these animal avatar NPCs?
Definitely. There's a whole radial menu of ones that you will eventually be able to choose, and there's quite a number of them. I only got to see those 2, but it looks like they go up to upwards of 10.
I mean, that in itself feels like there's a whole game there,
and
that's part of a bigger story.
And while the sagas appear to be somewhat linear, I played through a third of her saga, and that was 2 hours. There are several sagas, and each one takes place in different realms. So as you said, I was in Midgard, which is Earth, but there's a lot of other planets on this menu that I will eventually, as a player, go to, and some sagas travel between realms.
Yeah.
And so as I was saying, even though those are somewhat linear, the characters that you collect stay with you. So you can bring characters from other realms, cross to other realms, and then bring ones that you have back to realms that then unlock new areas. So there's this whole, and there's Easter eggs galore. Everywhere you look, there's like torches that aren't lit, and you have to figure out how do you light all of these torches within enough time, and you have to do that in God mode or as human mode, and they don't spoon feed you. Like a lot of games, especially in VR, they know that it's like maybe physically uncomfortable and people are new to this and they're spoon feeding you and treating you like a baby. This game doesn't do that so much. There's a lot there to discover and go back to if you don't, if you want to spend the time and develop allow the game to develop itself.
I mean, look at the footage that was captured from your playthrough. What struck me was just the production value, like the world building, right? Huge environments, and even like things like indoor environments that had statues and crazy architecture.
I was really impressed. Now, granted, I've been playing a lot on the Quest lately, mobile processor, and while I'm impressed by what that can do with its Snapdragon processor, to then go and see like what the absolute peak of PC performance can give you, I mean, it really is. This is a game that I don't anticipate being ported to Quest. Like, this is definitely a AAA PC experience, and it looks great. I mean, the fire effects, the geometry, the character animations, the voice acting, it's all there. And while this will be an Oculus exclusive because it's an Oculus Studios game, I mean, it is still one that I'm planning to spend a lot of time in, and I hope that everyone else can at least give it a try.
Did you find the combat was satisfying? A lot of people are hoping for more challenging combat, with melee combat.
Combat's
especially.
Great. Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost like a Prince of Persia style thing where it's a timing based thing. If you walk up there and just smash, it doesn't do any good. In fact, it does nothing to them. You have to wait, especially if they're armored. You have to wait till they swing at you.
Parry response.
In which case you can either block it, and if you block it with your shield, that works, or you can swing as they swing at you with their shield and knock them back. Same thing with the sword. You can parry an attack, or sometimes they charge up their effect, and if they flash blue, that means they're going to do like their super attack. So it's a slightly different timing game there, but if you parry that, it does a lot of damage, and you can then go in for the kill. If they flash red, that means it's unblockable. And so there's this other ability to dash, and so you have to move out of the way of those. And I didn't even get to the point where I was comfortable fighting those. The combat has a real sense of easy to learn, hard to master. I was not good at it, but I knew where I was faltering, and I wanted to go back and get better at it.
Did you also get a sense that it's going to take advantage of like VR locomotion, like climbing and?
Not enough. Like there's a lot of safety features in the game. Yeah. If you walk up to even a stairway, you can walk down the stairway, or you can grab this glowing arrow that's on the banister, and it will teleport you to the bottom of the stairs. And I'm like, come on, do people really need that? I guess some people do, because they don't even allow you to climb chains this way. You go to the chain, there's only the grabby thing to teleport to the top. That was one of my requests. I was like, please let me climb the chain.
Yeah.
They do let you climb a ladder in the same senses, but the same way, there's a glowy thing as on the stairs.
Right.
So yeah, I would like more of that. Personally, I love different locomotion mechanics in VR games. That's one of the things that gives me a sensation. And so the more that they can push that for me personally, the better, but I understand safety features are important to a lot of people.
And that's Asgard's Wrath. It's going to be out later this year, and the fact that they're letting you do 2-hour-long playthroughs shows their confidence in at least the scope of this game.
And it also shows a sense of curiosity on Oculus's part. I think that they are as curious as anybody about how this investment is going to pay off, because this hasn't really been done yet, and it's a huge gamble on Oculus's part to make a 50-hour RPG for virtual reality. And so I'm super curious. Sanzaru is the developer. They previously did Marvel Powers United, as well as the sports game that came out with the Rift. So they certainly they know what they're doing in VR, and this is their biggest one yet.
Very cool. Well, next week I'll be at E3 checking out some more Oculus games, and we have more coverage from Augmented World Expo, so a lot of stuff coming out in projections. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.